Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, crack your jokes. I totally earned it with this one. We are not going back to anything. This is a PS5 launch game, I know. Not very retro of me, if you will. But today, we're doing something a little bit different with Astro's Playroom. This is a game that launched with the PS5, came packaged in, and won our hearts immediately with the way it utilized the DualSense and other PS5 features, plus its plethora of Easter eggs. It's an awesome game. I picked it up, played it for like half an hour, and moved on to Demon's Souls Remake because I was like, hey, I spent money on that and I want to go where, you know, the RPGs are effectively. So I'm going to go play that instead. And I never returned. And I thought this would be just a fun little gimmicky title, but it turns out this really did start out in VR and then arrived as a launch game and now is getting a full-fledged 3D platformer in just a few short days. So I wanted to try something a little bit new here on Retro Rebound, and I need your feedback in a massive way here. I feel like, and I say this with all due respect to my fellow content creators, every platinum trophy hunt video is literally the same. So I want to give you the opportunity to really shape what a platinum trophy run looks like here on Retro Rebound, because I want it to be different. Like, I think all the thumbnails look the same, the content's the same, we recap every trophy. What I want to do here is talk about my journey with the game and some trophies that stood out on my way to the platinum, instead of just boring you with the same thing you've seen in a million other channels. If there's things that you want to see from these platinum hunts as we gradually dive into them, because they are big commitments, let me know, because it's something I have wanted to do on the channel for a while, and this felt like a perfect starting point. You know, clean up this platinum trophy, talk about my thoughts on the game, and what I'm hoping to see in Astro Bot, the full-fledged sequel, and go from there. So please, feel free to be as constructive or as critical as you'd like down below. I'd love to hear from you all. And with that, let's begin our journey with this platinum trophy. So the platinum here for Astro's Playroom is not difficult at all. I would say this is a good getting your feet wet type platinum. The reason I say that is, for me, I have not platinum hunted in a long while. When I first got into platinum trophy hunting with the PS3, I adored it. Right now I'm at a total of 40, and over time it became a love letter move for me. So I moved away from just playing games for trophies, which was very addictive for me, to then just saying, hey, I really like this game, I'm gonna go get the platinum. So for things like Bloodborne, Fallout 4, I think of Neo, just certain games that stood out to me that I went, I love that so much, I wanna go all the way. That's where I would get my platinums. Nowadays, it's slowed down to a crawl, and it's really a matter of convenience. I guess I can get it? Something like what PlayStation started to do with Spider-Man. That's the other thing that's worked against me with platinum trophies. I feel like some games have tried to use it for sales, like, oh, you got an easy platinum in here. And I hate that because it kind of works. Like, when I hear the trophies are great, there's a little extra incentive of like, oh, I could knock out that plat while I'm at it. There is an intangible there, and I hope one day Xbox makes their own platinum trophy equivalent, because I think that would be great, since they kind of started the whole thing with achievements. I say all of this, though, because if you're like me, and you kind of got into platinum trophy hunting, another reason for that may have been following guides. PlayStation has done a good job building in hint videos that I used all throughout this platinum trophy hunt to see how it worked, but I will say the old-fashioned way of doing it is the best way of doing it. Just firing up a trophy guide and going in order. How I like to do things is playthrough one is organic. So that's what I did, wrapping up Astro's Playroom. I really have to say, out of all the stages, the SSD Speedway was so cool to me, because I think back to when the PS5 was getting revealed, and like, this was the big deal, the SSD. And I love how they built the music around, like all you hear is SSD. Like, it feels like I'm just playing marketing the video game. Like, they're just hyping up all these PS5 gimmicks, but it kind of works because a lot of this game is a journey through PlayStation history in many a way. The final boss in this game is the T-Rex tech demo, and that is so cool to me. But I love how it's a celebration of gaming culture, PlayStation culture especially. I love how I get to find these Easter eggs all throughout. Like, oh, there's the Bloodborne hunter mowing the lawn. That's awesome. Or, oh, that's definitely Jak and Daxter. Or that's definitely Ratchet and Clank. Or, hey, wait, is that Tekken? Or is that Shadow of the Colossus? Like, there's just so many moments in this game where you go, like, oh my God, they did it. You're always like pointing at the screen, just like, hey, I recognize that. And that's a great feeling. Like, the amount of celebration that's there, and also just seeing all of the accessories that you may or may not have known about. There was one point I was going through the game, wrapping up my platinum trophy hunt, getting the final artifacts in the game, and I came across a PlayStation mouse. I'd like to say I'm well versed in a lot of gaming history, and especially peripherals, because they always fascinated me. I had no idea that a PlayStation mouse ever existed. So there's a level of discovery there. It's also just cool to see like recognition of things that you thought were a bit buried in PlayStation's history. I'm looking at you, PS Vita. It was nice to rediscover that sort of stuff and see a little bit of a celebration there. But yeah, just overall, this is a game about going through PlayStation's history. And so I just loved running through the rest of the game. Like, that was fine enough for me. But there are layers to Platinum Trophy hunts, as you know. And the real test of love and willpower sometimes is when you go back in, you're like, okay, time to clean this mess up. The reason I say at the top of all this that Astro's Playroom is a good way to get back into Platinum Trophy hunting is I do think trophy hunting is a bit of a mental muscle you got to kind of work out a little bit, because you have to, at least in my experience, get accustomed to playing the game, pausing it, looking at your guide, that sort of thing. And that's why the commitment level got higher for me. There was a time where I would just straight up trophy hunt while I'm playing the game, but over time I just realized that was pulling me out of the experience. So that's why I always say playthrough 1's organic. I love my time with it. Let's see what we can do to clean this list up. So upon finishing up my playthrough, it was a lot of little things like finishing up all the collectibles, and in Astro's Playroom, there's puzzle pieces and there are artifacts. The artifacts are a little bit easier to find, but some of these puzzle pieces were really cleverly hidden. Like, there was one in the cooling fans level, by the way, just again, amazing. Like, let's make a whole set of levels about cooling fans, just to highlight that the PS5 has a great cooling system in it, I guess. But nonetheless, just there was one hidden behind an igloo at one point, and I was like, oh, what? I didn't know that was there. There were some really cleverly hidden ones that I will admit I would have struggled to find. Like, in the first set of areas, there's another puzzle piece that's floating way above a CRT that you have to platform cleverly to get there. And it makes me a little concerned in the fun way about Astro Bot, because I'm like, oh, they're going to go up a notch and really start hiding some things here. Surprisingly, Astro's Playroom is sitting around a 4/5% area for the Platinum Trophy. And I say surprisingly because it's really easy and it's short. Like, this took me about 4 hours total to beat the game and clean up the Platinum, and that's being generous with the time. It may have even taken me 3 hours, and I just did it like 1 hour a night, and I was done one day. But outside of the collectible trophies, there were a couple that were annoying. There was one where you had to get into the frog suit. So for those who have never played Astro's Playroom, it's a very gimmicky video game. It has a lot of Wii spirit to it, and you'll have all these different interactions you can do with the DualSense. Like, sometimes it's motion controlled, and sometimes it's more adaptive trigger focused. And the frog suit happens to be both, where you lean in what direction you want to go in with the controller, and then you have to hold RT where the adaptive trigger kicks in, and then you launch yourself. So there was this one trophy where you had to like bump the beach ball above your head 5 times in a row. And this started to get a little sweaty for me because I'm starting to knock all the beach balls off the level. And by that point, I only had like 2 left when I finally got the trophy. That one was a little intense, I can't lie. And it was a little annoying as well because I was just constantly like jumping sideways and just hoping I was keeping the ball upwards. That was a little bit of a pain. So that was a trophy that I found a little annoying, and it did highlight one of, if I would say, my problems with the game, which is the way that it controls at times was almost sacrificing the fun for the gimmick. And that's the whole point of Astro's Playroom, but it works really well in a 3-hour pocket versus what a full game is looking like, which Astro Bot is looking like a big game, where I wonder if that'll kind of test my patience a little bit more. No doubt we're definitely doing better here with something like Astro and our conversation around that compared to the original launch platformer of the PS4 in Knack. I never played Knack 2, so I don't know if that's actually good or not, but I've heard some legit good things about it, so you let me know on that. That would be a hilarious Platinum Trophy hunt. One of the trophies was more collectathon focused beyond the actual artifacts and puzzle pieces. It was the gacha machine in the PlayStation Labo, and so you would go down there with all of your coins and you would cash it in there, and you get more and more puzzle pieces and artifacts that would appear all over the lab. I will say, I think the puzzle pieces were kind of gratifying because you would start to see a panorama fill out. I wish that the artifacts and the way they were laid out was a little more organized. By the time you're done with the game and you have the Platinum Trophy, it's just literally a room littered with stuff, and there's no organization to it, where I feel like you can see the sense of progression as the puzzle pieces for the panorama of this PlayStation history starts to fill in over time. So I do wish that they kind of organized things to make it feel a little bit cooler when you got to show off everything you collected. But what's also really neat is they did DLC for this game that I learned. Now, fortunately, you don't need to do the DLC to get the Platinum Trophy unless you really want to get 100%, because that's a whole other level that can bother you with a PlayStation Platinum. But you get brand new artifacts, for example. So I was popping like the DualSense Edge controller, the PS Portal, and I was like, oh wow, okay, cool. Like they're even celebrating this stuff. And they even had inside the game a countdown to Astro Bot's release that I thought was cool. And you can actually step through this portal and buy the game, which I thought it was cheeky, but it was cool because the whole idea of the game is you're like inside the PlayStation 5. So I liked that they had a little bit of that kind of like nudging you into the storefront there. Again, this is marketing the game, but it was pretty effective. All in all, though, there weren't really any difficult trophies. I think sometimes they were a little too easy to throw away. And this is something PlayStation became gradually more guilty of as the generation progressed on. Like there's one trophy where once I collect all these different accessories, you just get to the top of all these different shooting accessories hanging from the ceiling and you get your trophy. There's one where I step through the PlayStation home icon. It's, honey, I'm home. And that's it. I'm like, all right, like we could have done something more creative or challenging here. Like as much as I didn't like the frog one, I did get more satisfaction out of like, yes, I got it, in that sense of progression. Because that's part of what trophy hunting is I love the challenge-based trophies is what this game taught me. And again, this is why it's such a good starting area. You get that muscle trained of flipping back and forth between screens, learning the game, and now like the training wheels are off for me again. So if you're looking to trophy hunt, like this is a really good spot to go to because it is very simple, it is very easy, and it kind of just brings you back into that world a little bit more where you're like, okay, I think I could get down with the platinum trophy hunt because it is taxing, it is consuming. Fortunately, this is more of a lower lift type of platinum trophy. There was a special challenge where you had to fall 99 feet in the monkey suit. I thought that was kind of fun I tried to do it organically before I caved in and, you know, looked at the video, but trying to find out where the best spot to fall is. That one is also where trophies can go a little wrong in that being like overly particular, but all in all, pretty good platinum trophy hunt. Nothing too difficult there. The thing I loved about the game most was how it utilized the DualSense in its sound and its feel. Like every step you felt the controller vibrating and you could hear certain things coming out of it. Like it really is the perfect showcase of what the DualSense was capable of. And I say was because I feel like a lot of games just said, oh, adaptive triggers. Okay. And that was really it. And I remember before the generation started, that was what I was most excited about. So I'm happy to see games utilizing it. But I will also say adaptive triggers make my aim way worse and I typically turn them off. And that's what I've noticed with a lot of these new generation gimmicks is like Playroom was a good step through that door, but now we've had like 4 years with the DualSense, 4 years with the PS5. Does Astro Bot bring people back to loving those gimmicks? Because, you know, that new console charm is kind of off and gone. So I'm curious what happens there in that matter. But I'm pumped because we've seen with Astro Bot that there are new abilities, new suits, tons of levels, tons of collectibles. So it's taking the Playroom experience and amplifying it. Of course, what I'm more excited to see is the amount of Easter eggs. That was one thing I feel that you could have built the trophies around because all of the trophies were named after many a PlayStation title, and one of them being Tearaway, which Tearaway also had a little bit of an Easter egg in this game, and I love Tearaway. That is one of my favorite PS Vita games. I think it is so creative and how it uses all the Vita's features, and I feel like this is just a step behind that. So I hope with what Tearaway did for the PS Vita, Astro Bot can do for the PS5. That would make me so happy in just utilizing those features. But also what's important about Astro Bot and Astro's Playroom is we don't have enough of these kinds of games coming out nowadays. I was lucky to grow up during the early 2000s where you had everything from E for Everyone to M for Mature coming out all at the same time. So you had as many 3D platformers as you did bloody shooter games. And nowadays, it feels like you don't get as many 3D platformers, like true AAA 3D platformers, unless it's Mario, maybe Sonic occasionally. So it's really exciting to see PlayStation get back into this because Astro Bot does feel like a mascot to build around. And it's exciting to see a new-ish mascot. I know he was kind of buried with VR, but a newish mascot to the masses here for PlayStation and how they can utilize him moving forward. So yeah, all in all, the Platinum Trophy Hunt was a really good time, and I feel like my body is ready for Astro Bot. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I remind you one more time, if you have any feedback on how we can handle these Platinum Trophy Hunt videos better, if you want more individual deep dives on the trophies themselves, let me know. I want to kind of learn from this experience and see what you're looking for in these videos and provide something refreshing and new for the Platinum Trophy hunting community. So let me know down below. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.